I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners, and start this off by thanking Mr. Mayor, who's here from the city of Reedsville, for your courtesy and hosting us tonight. We appreciate it as part of our program. We hope it improves transparency, but in any event, it gets us out and we get to see people that we don't always see. So thank you very much. Meeting called over. Oh, Pastor T.J. Easter is with us tonight from Pioneer Church in Madison to deliver our invocation. And Pastor Easter, when you're done, I'm going to ask everybody to stand. If you folks would stay standing, and Commissioner Powell is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's bow in prayer. God in heaven, we are grateful and humbled tonight to have the privilege to come before you in prayer. Father, we recognize that the only reason we can come is because of your Son Jesus, who is at your right hand interceding on our behalf. And so with that great truth in mind, we come before you boldly tonight to thank you first for, Lord, giving us life, for giving us the privilege to live in such a great place like Rockingham County. Lord, we thank you for the freedoms that we enjoy, and we thank you, Father, for the men that are before us tonight, whom we have elected, but Father, you have called to lead us and to serve this county. Lord, we ask for wisdom for them tonight, Lord, as they make decisions. Father, we pray for courage, Lord, as they, Lord, do things that might not be popular, God, but Lord, may they strive to do what is right. Lord, we thank you for the example that they set. And Lord, we just pray, God, that they would just exhibit character and integrity, Lord, that all generations in this county would admire. Father, we pray for all the decisions that will be made tonight, Lord, throughout our county. Lord, we ask that you would direct the steps of all those who are responsible for those decisions. And we ask that everything that is done in this meeting would bring honor and glory to you. We pray these things in the precious and holy and good name of your Son, Jesus, our Savior and King. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. It's with great pleasure that item 4 on our agenda is a recognition of Mr. Ken Hanauer, and if I could get you to come forward, Mr. Hanauer. And I'm going to put you on the spot right in front of him. And I'm going to take a moment to explain that we have a program in this county where we recognize volunteers and public servants. Voluntary public service. And Ken, thank you for all that you've done in this regard, and your dedication to the community and the citizens of Rockingham County set a wonderful example. And the reward is fairly small and fits in a frame, but we would like to present it to you at this time for your contributions to our county. So if you come up, we're going to ask you to take the recognition and turn around, and we're going to get a picture of you with us right here.
Is this pretty good? Thank you.
The added perk is you're given the floor to make any comments you like.
Thank you so much. As a Christian person, I follow the work of my Savior, Jesus Christ. And it's been so wonderful to be a part of this Rockingham County citizen. And see Tony Gunn. I worked at the college for many years, and I've been in the neighborhood here for a long time with the Salvation Army. And it is so wonderful. And I think Rockingham County is blessed by the Christian groups that are in our county. Every Tuesday for 10 years, I've been meeting with a prayer group in 5 different churches here in this area. And it's really wonderful to know that God is working in our county. I hope I haven't taken too much of your time, but thank you for thinking about how God works. God bless.
Gentlemen, you've had the agenda for about 10 days now, chance to review it. Do we have a motion concerning approval of the October 2nd agenda as presented to you?
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of a resolution honoring Jason Julian between items 7 and 8.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion here, none. All in favor indicate by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by nay. Likewise, we have a consent agenda. For those of you not familiar with the consent agenda, these are generally non-controversial items that have to be approved by the commissioners. If you have questions about the details of any of the items on the consent agenda, contact, in this case, Derek Southern or our county manager, and they'll be happy to explain that to you. Do we have a motion concerning the consent agenda?
Motion approved.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion here, none. All in favor indicate by the sound of aye.
Aye.
And now we go to public comment. You said 7 and 8, right?
Between 7 and 8.
Okay. Public comment tonight starts with Marilyn B. from E.
Yeah.
Did you come up?
Hello. Just checking.
Okay, thank you. We're going to let Derek give you some, no, you stay there.
So this is the public comment period rules. Public comment period shall be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to present matters containing county business or items to the Board of Commissioners that are on the agenda. Remarks shall be addressed directly to the Board of Commissioners and not to staff or the audience or media. The chairperson shall open the public period. Any speaker who wishes to speak shall approach the podium and not speak from his or her seat. Each person shall clearly state his or her name and physical address when he or she approaches the podium. You are allowed 3 minutes to speak. The clock will be over to your right, allowing that time. If you wish to allot your 3 minutes to someone else, you can do so by letting the chairperson know. If you yield your time, make sure that he's aware before you start, so it is fully allotted for a total of 6 minutes. Speakers are not allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business, or use language in a personal nature that insults or demeans people. The Board of Commissioners may accept written comments in lieu of oral statements, and to be delivered to the county manager's office.
You didn't know you were going to get all that instruction. Do you have any questions?
No questions.
We're glad to have you in the county. You're a new employee, so please carry on.
Thank you. My name is Marilyn Burnaby, 998 Harris Street, Eden, NC 27288. Good evening, Commissioners. I am here tonight as a member of the Kids Ready Coalition through the Partnership for Children. It is a group of dedicated individuals currently working on solutions for the child care crisis. Like many families today, my family and I were also affected by the child care crisis, causing financial instability and stress on our family. Zalia, my 1-year-old's classroom, was closed for a year. Although the classroom reopened, it's not reliable because there are days they are forced to close because there just aren't enough teachers. Because of this, my husband and I made the difficult decision of going from a 2-household income to 1. We were very aware of what this change would cost, but had no choice. To compensate, I am juggling 3 different roles within various nonprofits, and it's a heavy burden. I can't even imagine the burden other families carry. Ideally, if we could just secure reliable, affordable childcare, my husband would be able to add more income to our household. Our prosperity is slipping through our fingers because our childcare options are basically zero. This whole experience has shed light on the fragile early childhood system that is currently in place that can easily dwindle our economic system. As parents, we figure it out for our babies no matter what. My family and all families need affordable, quality, and reliable childcare to help educate our littlest ones and allow parents to participate in the workforce. And we need to support the childcare system and show potential early educators that this is a good career path. For all these reasons, I'm respectfully advocating on behalf of all working families and ask that you consider how you can best help the people in Rockingham County with this issue. If other commissioners have figured something out, I think we are more than capable of figuring something out too, because I have seen other leaders in this county step up and start looking for solutions. A perfect example is the Kids Ready Coalition. Let us be an example to other counties and truly live up to our Rockingham County slogan that our citizens truly are in a good place. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Roberta Hawthorne from Stokesdale.
Good evening, I'm Roberta Hawthorne of 8321 Cornelius Court in Stokesdale. I'd like to start by being clear that I am a county employee, but I am here tonight volunteering my time to speak with you, so don't worry, I'm not on the clock. I wanted to share a little bit about my personal experience with the child care crisis and what it's like for me as a county employee trying to plan for child care. I may not have the most dire situation that you're going to hear about tonight, but I do think it's an important perspective for you to be aware of. My husband and I are expecting our first child in January, which is something that we have hoped for a very long time, and we've begun to feel afraid that maybe it wouldn't happen for us. But now we are expecting a baby, and we find ourselves in the middle of the child care crisis. So now I have this new fear that this could be what ends my career, or at the very least pushes me out of the workforce for a few years. My husband and I are in a very fortunate position where if we had to, we could live on just his salary, and I know that many families don't have that luxury. For us, this means that access to childcare isn't what would keep us afloat or would keep us out of poverty, but it does mean that it could be what ends what I've worked so hard to achieve professionally. I like my job. I like working where I work. I do think I'm good at my job, and I feel like there's a lot more I can accomplish in the county. My baby is also very fortunate in that he has 3 grandparents who cannot wait to spend time with him and help take care of him. My mama lives the closest, but at the present, she's not physically able to take care of an infant by herself all day long while we go to work. Since childcare openings with quality establishments are few and far between, my husband and I are looking as far away as Greensboro to find one that would meet our needs and that would have availability when it's time for me to come back to work. This also means that on days when I'm in charge of dropping off and picking up the baby, I'm looking at an hour of commute time and gas money twice a day. So these are all the things that I'm having to think about. Despite all the planning we did for this eventual pregnancy and all the support we do have around us, the burden of the childcare situation could be what pushes me out of the workforce. I wanted you to know what this all looks like from my perspective, and I also hope that you'll think about what this crisis could end up looking like from your perspective as an employer, and as you have to see many young professionals like me leaving the workforce because of the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. Myra King.
Good evening. My name is Myra King. I live at 712 West Decatur Street, and that's in Madison, North Carolina. So I am a family child care owner. I have a facility in my home, and I too am here to talk about the crises in Rockingham County with child care. So unfortunately, the woman behind me, I don't have any space in my facility for her because we're at a cap. And there are other facilities that don't accept infants right now because they can't find teachers to stay in that classroom And the pay is not great either, and we don't get vacation either. So with that being said, I'm here to urge you guys to come up with some type of solution to help, Rockingham County. And I was back there trying to Google, how many child care facilities do we have in Rockingham County? I bet you guys can't answer that. You probably don't even know. And if you did know, you'd probably, be like, that's too less, we need more. So with all that being said, I just really want you guys to just think really hard, put your minds together, call my girls at the Smart Start, and they can help you out too.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rakestraw.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Paula Rakestraw. I live at 595 Foxwood Road, Madison, North Carolina, 27025. Later on this evening, you're going to be hearing from April Cox, the Director for the Partnership for Children, and you'll be hearing about a crisis here that we're facing here in Rockingham County, and that crisis is the insufficient amount of quality child care, specifically infant and toddler care. It's important for you to understand the impact that this crisis is having on current and future employees. Sorry about that. Without child care, our county will be lacking the infrastructure necessary for these businesses to find employees. I urge you to look for opportunities to create partnerships between current and future businesses regarding child care, its affordability, and its availability. The Rockingham County Partnership for Children is a catalyst for such issues and is a great resource for businesses facing this particular issue. Thank you for your time and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mrs. Rakestraw. Hunter Edwards.
Hey, my name is Hunter Edwards, 250 Autumn Gate Drive, Reedsville, NC. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to hear all of our concerns about the child care crisis. Unfortunately, this crisis is bigger than any of you can imagine. There is a huge need in our community for more child care centers. Even prior to COVID, so many families were in need of child care and could not find it. Therefore, it reduced the workforce in our county. With the child care crisis among us, there are numerous child care centers that have shut down, leaving more families without child care. As a founder of Locomotion Learning, I opened the child care center because I saw a great need in our community. Locomotion is a small business. We cannot help everyone in our community. However, we're here tonight asking for your help. Teachers working in early childhood are undervalued. Teachers are getting discouraged due to being underpaid and overworked. Many teachers have left the industry to pursue higher wage positions like those of the fast food industry. Starbucks, Jersey Mike's, and Cookout is a great asset to our community. However, small businesses like child care centers cannot compete with large organization salaries. Teachers are having to make the unfortunate decision to walk away from their passion of teaching and work in fast food restaurants flipping burgers. Unfortunately, when I say that out loud, it sounds like we as a community respect our burger flipping more than we do our teachers and our future generation. And it is time to recognize the value of our teachers and the critical role they play in shaping the future of our county. It is time to prioritize the education of our youngest citizens who will carry out our legacy forward. Let us invest in early childhood education, not only because it is the right thing to do, but it's the smart thing to do.
Thank you, Hunter. Casey Ellis.
Good evening. My name is Casey Ellis, 17 Rose Bay Lane, Greensboro, North Carolina, 27455. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you this evening. As a former resident of Rockingham County and a former licensed foster parent of Rockingham County DSS, my wife and I found ourselves struggling to find child care within our community. Therefore, this led us to the moment where we realized we had to relocate to Guilford County. This pivotal life moment also made us realize that we should look at opening early childhood education centers, specifically here in Rockingham County, because we saw the great need. I felt called tonight to speak to you about a grave concern that I believe requires our immediate attention. However, within this concern lies an opportunity for us to shine a positive light in our community's future. I stand before you to advocate for the inclusion of a crucial line item in our county's budget, funding for early childhood education. While you may or may not have children of your own, investing in early childhood education can help every member of our community. Studies show that children enrolled in early education programs later have reduced reliance on social welfare programs, higher employment rates compared to those that did not have access to such programs. By prioritizing early childhood education, we are not only improving the lives of individual children, but also creating a safer, more thriving community for all. Moreover, investing in early childhood education can have a positive impact on economic development. When businesses consider relocating or expanding, they often consider the availability of quality childcare options for their employees. Accessible and high-quality early childhood education programs can be a significant factor in attracting businesses to our county. Companies recognize that employees with young children need reliable and affordable, quality-driven childcare. In conclusion, investing in early childhood education is an investment in the future of our county. The evidence is clear. Early childhood education programs have a lasting positive impact on children's families and communities. By allocating funds specifically for early childhood education, we are prioritizing the well-being and success of our children, strengthening our community, and fostering a brighter future for all. Moreover, by providing accessible and high-quality childcare options, we can attract new businesses, enhance economic development, and create a skilled workforce. I urge you, County Commissioners, to consider the immense benefits and make the wise decision to include this vital line item in our county's budget. Thank each of you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Casey. That concludes public comment tonight, but we're going to hear some more about the early childhood crisis and our situation here in the county. We look forward to that. But first, Dr. Mark Kinlaw, president of Rockingham Community College, and I think his colleague is coming up with it, Dr. Tony Gunn, to update us on what's going on at RCC.
Well, good evening to all of you, and we appreciate you allowing us to come and speak to you and update you on our quarter cent sales tax revenues and some of our projects. Dr. Tony Gunn is in charge of our facilities and external affairs, and he handles all of our quarter cent sales tax projects. And these funds have enabled our college to make a big difference in our facilities with renovations, especially our classrooms and our labs. They've made it possible for us to develop new programs and certainly have allowed us to improve instruction and learning. We're going to share with you the latest revenue and expenditure figures, but we're going to want to focus on two major projects that we have ongoing. You can drive on our campus and see it. Our new Center for Workforce Development, and in the back of our campus, our Industrial Technologies 2 building, which is being renovated for welding. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gunn and let him take you through some slides and give you the update, and certainly I'll be available as he will for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Kinlaw. It's a pleasure to come before you this evening and kind of brag a little bit about some of our projects, some of the things we've got going on campus. To give you a little bit of background about the quarter cent sales tax, since October 2018, we've received $9.5 million in revenues, and that's through the end of last month. We've spent a little bit over $5.6 million in that time. As Dr. Kinlaw mentioned, the majority of those funds have been spent with and are budgeted for the Center for Workforce Development and the renovation of Industrial Technologies 2. But here are some other projects that we've spent funds, quarter cent sales tax funds on. We've renovated an area in our Advanced Technologies building for a cybersecurity lab. We've built a greenhouse for our agribusiness program and also a storage building there. We've renovated a classroom in our science building for our hydraulics trainer lab, renovated a space in Industrial Technologies 1 for an HVAC lab. We've replaced our mass notification system on campus, one that's much more reliable and much more efficient. We've done quite a bit of paving and striping on campus, and we bought a ton of instructional equipment and software. Of course, the major feature, of course, in sales tax funds is our Center for Workforce Development. This is a picture that we took last week showing you the progress of this. The contractor's just about finished up with interior framing. He hopes to have the building dried in within the next 30 days. This is a picture of the corporate meeting space. It's going to seat about 200 people. This is a picture of the machining lab, one of the programs going into the building. This is a photo of the mechatronics lab, another program going into the building. The contractor's moving ahead with putting sheetrock up. This is one of the crew persons there. In the timeline, you recall that construction started just over a year ago. Construction is scheduled to be complete in March. No promises, that's when it's scheduled. That could be slightly optimistic, but we'll keep you posted on that. And we're looking to start classes in the building in August. It's going to take us a few months to move in equipment, things like that. And of course, just as a reminder, inside the building, we're going to have programs, computer integrated machining, electrical systems, mechatronics engineering, also space for our small business center, our customized training program, corporate meeting space, as you saw, faculty offices, and a student lounge. 42,000 square feet is the total space there. Our other major project is renovation of the Industrial Technologies 2 building. This is a building that was built in 1979. Our contractor has essentially gutted that space to put 2 welding labs. This is the contractor running gas piping to a welding station. You can see we're essentially doubling our capacity in the building, going from about 20 to 40 welding stations. And then I didn't want to get out of here without giving you some idea of some other projects that are on our radar. We're looking at an addition to the Health Sciences building. Estimated cost there of $2.1 million. We want to renovate the Industrial Tech 1 building. It's been estimated at $4.5 million. Also want to renovate our science building. We've done some of that, but we need to do a lot more. At the moment, we've got a study going on to look at our electrical infrastructure on campus. Our transformers, our underground wiring is not in good shape, and we'll have a report on that in just a few months. Our parking lots and sidewalks need some work. Our gym is also a building that we want to get renovated. Our fire alarm system in 5 of our buildings needs to be upgraded. And in our student center, our HVAC needs quite a bit of work. So that's, in essence, is kind of an update of where we are. Our fortunate sales tax money has been, we've been able to do quite a lot with it, and we're very appreciative of that. Our proceeds, I think, have been about $268,000 each month. Of that amount, the loan amount gets taken out of that, and that loan amount is about $153,000. So we're left with about $110,000 each month. That's been for the last 3 months, and it's been kind of steady. So we're glad to see that. Okay. We'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
I've got a couple of questions, Dr. Gunn. Mechatronics, or what exactly?
Mechatronics, yeah. It used to be what some of us remember as industrial systems, but it includes robotics these days and
electronics,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said custom training. Could you elaborate a little bit on what that might encompass?
Yes. When an industry wants to come into Rockingham County, sometimes they need specialized training. We can provide that. We can hire an instructor, we can get some equipment and give them the specialized training that they need, and that makes it more attractive for them to come to Rockingham County.
So you in other words, you're saying the college is willing to develop programs in conjunction with existing companies?
Existing and new companies, yeah, and we do that all the time.
Okay.
The customized training program is really, it's a state program. And so when industry locates to a county, there's often incentives that attract industry to settle into a particular area of the state. And so part of those incentive packages is customized training with the local community college. So we provide that as free to industry. So we provide all sorts of training depending on what they need. They could be managerial, supervisory training, it could be training on new equipment that they have, lots of different things that we do with them. But it is a state program that we work with our local industry, but also the state of North Carolina to provide. I also want to say that we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to develop programs. You mentioned mechatronics, a lot more automation and robotics, as Dr. Gunn mentioned. And so we're developing additional programs behind the scenes, and also working, and Ms. Rakestraw's here from the school board, we're working very closely with the public schools to develop processes and programs that allow for pipelines of students to enter our programs. Where we're renovating space, we want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for students. So we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and that may be a good program for us to come and update you in a couple of months. So the superintendent and I would be glad to do something like that, to tell you some of the things that we're doing to make sure that we're addressing workforce needs, because that's what the quarter-cent sales tax was about addressing workforce needs. But I want you to know it's not just about facilities. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes between the college and the school system that we're real excited about.
Thank you. And additionally, the Workforce Development Center, what is the budget on that now? I know at one time it was going to 17 or 18 million. It came in about 21.5 million. Have we had many changes to that?
Well, no, we haven't, but it's about 20, could you consider equipment and furnishings, it's up to about 25 million.
25 million. And operating budget, have we developed an operating budget for the programs and such yet?
We have, for the building, utilities and things like that?
Well, not necessarily utilities, but for the programs and such that you're going to be doing for that. I just didn't know if you've been able to work on that. You're looking to do that next year.
We are, yeah. We don't really have those figures yet.
Okay. All right. That's it, Mr. Chair.
So I want to ask you about something that I did not see on your radar that I've had several calls about recently from members of the public, and that is EMS driving pad or Sheriff's Department. I know that, to recap, I know that you guys came to the county to look at some land the county owned. I believe that you've been awarded $2 million from the state to put towards that. And quite frankly, the question I'm getting is how much money does it take to build a 600 by 600 parking lot?
Well, I can tell, and Dr. Gunn can weigh in on this because he's a lot closer than I am to it. But we are doing a feasibility study now. Of course, you remember you set aside some land, and so we looked at that land, and now there's a lot of slope to that land. So it's going to cost us at least close to $1 million more to construct that on the land that was set aside. So we're looking on our campus now, and we've got, there's a little over 30 acres, I think, at the back of our campus that is a little less slope, and we think is a good option. So we're having our architectural firm is doing a feasibility study now, and is very close to finishing that. And once we have that feasibility study completed, which we think we'll have in the next few weeks, then we'll do a master plan on that land that will tell us exactly what it's going to cost. But we're probably looking. So you got to have you got to meet the state requirements on the pad itself, and then we'll need a storage building there. If it's on our campus, we don't have to have a classroom building, so we'll have a storage building there with bathroom facilities. You have to have parking around it, road access, and so we'll have a lot more information once that master plan is completed. But we're probably looking in the $5 to $6 million range.
So would it not, does it have to be on your campus, or does it, if we found another site that was more suitable, looks like $1 million is a lot to grade. How big a site are you looking at, 30 acres? Is you want to grade the whole 30 acres?
No, not the whole 30 acres, but you got to have, they require a buffer around it, you got to have parking, you got to have access into it. So we'll know a lot more once we have the master plan, but it's that expensive.
Would you do me a favor and please put that on your radar screen if you're showing this to other people, because it's definitely on the radar screen
Sure.
of a bunch of people
Yeah.
in the community. Thank you.
It wasn't
Thank you.
done on purpose.
I got
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, comment?
You have a question?
Just a couple. So you mentioned the $2 million from the state. When you guys get an award like that, where is that money stored? Is it in your general budget, or how does that work?
It's held by the state,
Yeah.
and then we get reimbursed.
Okay.
Spent.
And then my other question was, this has more to do with enrollment, so maybe this, I don't know if you're prepared for that or not, but obviously we are working toward workforce development. That's what we are interested in. That's what this is all about. Either for the semester or for the year, whichever is easier for you to answer. What is the percentage you would say of enrollment as far as students that are in either an associate's or a transfer program versus a certificate workforce program?
We're getting final. We've just gotten our official numbers just in the last week or so, and so we're working on that now. But I'll just give you some information that I do have. Our enrollment this fall is 1,786. Now that's degree-seeking students, and I'll come back to that in just a minute because that's really important. 1,786 students. We're up 3% compared to last fall, which is a very positive sign. That's head count plus FTE. The positive sign in it is that when you look at those numbers for our curriculum programs, our degree programs, these are our career technical education programs, we're up 5% head count and FTE, which is another positive sign. We've been really concerned about the lack of enrollment in those areas. And this is what we're seeing at our college this fall, we're seeing statewide. These are typical trends that we're seeing. And then 329 of those students are early college high school students. And then 359 additional students are what we call career and college promise students. They are high school students dually enrolled in high school and our college. So they're high school kids taking college courses. And so that has grown tremendously in the last 8 years since I've been here anyway. So 38% of our enrollment is early college plus high school kids taking college courses. A lot of those high school kids taking college courses are in college transfer program. They're in college transfer courses. Now they can take those college transfer courses and enter a career technical field because a lot of those programs are going to require science or math and English and humanities and so forth. So, but I'll know more in the next couple of weeks once we finalize our fall enrollment, and we'll know exactly where the growth is, what the enrollment is in each of those kind of programs. And I can tell you associate degree, diploma, certificate, but also can tell you college transfer. I mentioned that's the degree side. Just as important, because of the way we're funded and what the job needs are out there, is what is our enrollment in continuing education. And so we have started a lot of programs in continuing education. They're usually short-term training programs, especially the 96 plus contact hour programs. So for example, I'll just give you one example. We've started a medical assisting program that's 16 weeks. Medical assistants are those folks when you go to a doctor's office, they call you to the back. They can, they'll weigh you, they'll get your blood pressure, they can give you an EKG, they can take blood, they can give you shots, those types of things. In 16 weeks, they're going to start between $20 and $23 an hour with a signing bonus right now. And so those are some of the kinds of programs we're starting in continuing education because they lead to a license or certification or some kind of industry recognized credential that get people employed quickly. And so that enrollment is just as important, and we'll know some of those figures pretty soon as well. So, but once I get those, I'll be glad to email that to you all so you can see what that breakdown is and where the high enrollments are as far as programs and where we're still struggling. I'll be glad to send that to you. But that should be pretty soon.
Thank you, Dr. Stillman.
Absolutely.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Booker. Just, you mentioned funding and the high school students and the classes that they take through the college. I believe both the school system and the college receives funding for those kids.
They do. That's exactly right. Yeah. Public schools and us. Yes.
Thank you.
I got one more.
Okay.
How's the carpentry class going?
We have 14 enrolled in that course, so that's good to see. And we're working on construction trades. That's one of the areas that we're focused on. And in fact, the superintendent and I met with our staffs just a few days ago to talk about some exciting things we're working on. It's a little premature right now, but we're trying to pull together all the pieces that we're doing that help to bridge high school to college and get more students finishing with some kind of certificate or some kind of credential when they leave high school, so they're ready to go to work, or they're ready to expand on that going to a community college. And so we're pulling all those pieces together in terms of what we're doing, but we're also talking about new things that we want to get going, and we're going to put that in a comprehensive plan that will show how all of this is trying to fit together. Some of the conversations that we're having, the timing on it is really good because of the renovations that we're doing, what the quarter cent sales tax is allowing us to do, but also the new industry announcements that the county has had. So we're pulling all that together, and I think we're having some really exciting conversations, and hope to be able to share some things with you pretty soon on all that.
I believe you're having an event on your campus Thursday.
We are. We're
Friday
having
this week. Would you like to tell the folks?
We are. We're having a career. It's a career expo, and it's we're modeling after. There's a model in Virginia that we're trying to emulate there, and so we have the last count that I heard on Friday was 62 business and industry partners coming in. This is not a job fair. This is a career expo where students will get hands-on. So we're going to be set up in our gym. We're going to be set up outside as well. Thank goodness the weather's going to be nice. And so they will be bringing equipment and all sorts of things for hands-on experiences for several hundred 7th graders on Thursday and then several hundred 10th graders on Friday. So we're really excited about this. We plan for this to be an annual event on our campus, and it's to introduce students to different career fields and what the opportunities are right here in our county. And so looking forward to that. But yeah, thank you for that question.
Mr. Chair, one more, if you don't mind. So, we've heard a lot about the child care crisis here tonight. Would you care, just for the benefit of the public, if anybody's interested in a career like that, what we offer at the community college?
We do. We have an early childhood program. An early childhood program has several different tracks to it. And so they can get their credentials to work in a daycare, but they also can pursue being a teacher in the public school system, for example. So there's different tracks there. But yes, we have that program at our college.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Well, they took my thunder because by design, we wanted to emphasize the child care crisis here in the county. Your contribution to that is heavy, and I don't know chairperson, not chairperson anymore, but as far as school board, I know the superintendent's very interested in that, and your collaboration, I think, is essential for getting the right people in the right place for that sort of training. And for the public's information, your economic development team is also very heavily involved in that, trying to encourage industry to have on-site child care facilities. So, anything else you'd like to share with us? Any other questions from the board?
That's it. Any more questions? Thank you for allowing us to come and update you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We look forward to seeing you in 3 months. No vote on that. April Cox.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. I'm April Cox, the Director with the Rockingham County Partnership for Children. Thank you for your time and opportunity to present this evening. You've heard so much already about the child care crisis, so we hope to hit it home with this presentation. I'm also speaking on behalf of our Kids Ready Rockingham Coalition, some of which are here with us tonight. So if you are a member of the Kids Ready Rockingham Coalition, would you please stand? Thank you all for being here. So this is a great cross-sector group. We've got faith-based organizations, industry leaders, nonprofit organizations and leaders, a good mix across the county that are working to find solutions to the child care crisis and to improve the early childhood system as a whole. So today we're going to talk about an issue that impacts the quality of our community. We're going to talk about why early learning matters to all of us and what's at stake for children and our local economy. And we know our commissioners are part of the village, so we are hopeful that you're going to join us to help solve this problem. So why early childhood? So what happens in the child's first 8 years of life sets the foundation for all the years to follow. The most rapid period of development in human life happens from birth to 8. It's so defining that end of third grade outcomes can predict academic achievement and career success. Now this is the fastest neuroscience lesson you will receive on brain development, so hold on tight. So did you know, first of all, that the brain is one of the only organs not fully developed when a baby is born? And let's take a look at what's happening here on the screen during these early years. Every experience a baby has forms a neural connection in the brain. These connections, called synapses, form very rapidly during the early years, 1 million per second, in fact. They form a network in the brain, and this network influences everything from there forward. And how that wiring is formed, either as a strong or a weak foundation, depends on that child's interactions with the world around them. So genes are only part of the equation. So you can see how much happens in those first few years on the graph, but especially during those first few months. So the brain's foundation for all future learning is built during those early childhood years. So you may be wondering why this effort is called the first 2,000 days. It's because there's only about 2,000 days between the time a baby is born and when they enter kindergarten. So we don't have any time to waste. So just like building a house, it's much more cost effective to build it right than to have to fix the foundation after it's built. These early childhood benefits have economic value. This graph shows that Nobel Prize winning economist James Heckman, his research that found that dollars invested in early education have the greatest impact versus interventions later in life. In fact, 7 to 13% on every dollar invested in early education. There are several longitudinal studies that have looked at the long-term outcomes of participants in early childhood programs and the benefit to society. In each case, the majority of these returns are to society, not just to the individual. Now sure, the individuals who participate, they do have better jobs, better education, live better lives. In terms of dollars returned from the investment, it is the society who is the big winner, primarily through savings in crime and justice, healthcare, and educational remediation costs. So why does this matter to you? Why does it matter to our community, our nation? If you care about issues such as national security, global competitiveness, and crime reduction, then you care about early childhood education. And this is why. So even our military leaders are making early childhood a priority. They say it's a matter of our national security. In fact, it's their top policy agenda item, and there's only 3. And that is expanding high-quality early childhood education programs. So why is the military interested in early childhood? One reason is because 71% of Americans 17 to 24 cannot meet the military's eligibility requirements. High-quality early childhood experiences are linked to improvements in these areas, so that's why they're making it a priority. Law enforcement officials, they get it. They're speaking up about early childhood issues. They're calling on lawmakers to support high-quality early education programs as a critical strategy to reduce crime, to lower correction costs, and save taxpayers money. That's because children who are at risk who do not participate in high-quality early childhood programs are much more likely to become chronic offenders as adults. Business leaders and economists are also advocating for greater early childhood investments. It's so important that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Institute for Competitive Workforce says that it impacts our economic prosperity and we want greater investments in early childhood. So what exactly is the child care crisis that we're speaking of? You've actually heard a lot about it, so we're going to reinforce it here. So it's not only important to the Partnership for Children, it's not just important to the Kids Ready Coalition that's here. This is a problem for families in our community, early childhood professionals, Rockingham County industries, and our local economy. If you're a working parent with a young child right now in the county, chances are you have a big problem on your hands. Infant toddler care is hard to find, hard to afford, and hard to provide. You see the chart of the numbers of infant, toddler, and 1-year-olds in the county, the 2702, and the number of those children who have all parents in the home working, 1736. Well, guess what? We have 330 licensed spaces for infant toddlers in the county, meeting only 12% of that need. This is a problem for many of our employers, especially you see that 0 of them are providing second or third shift care. So that is a big point to remember when we're trying to attract businesses to come to our area. You've heard them speak earlier. A lot of folks are asking that question, what's available? The economic impact of childcare matters because it helps drive local economies. When parents can access childcare, they're more likely to enter the workforce and stay employed. This study was conducted in 21-22, and so we suspect that even this 12% data point would look different now. We have childcare directors and owners tell us often now that they might have the capacity to serve infants and toddlers, but they can't find the qualified staff or pay the staff what they're worth to open that classroom. So North Carolina, like many states across the nation, is considered to be a childcare desert. What does that mean? It's defined by any census tract with more than 50 children under age 5 that contains either no childcare providers or so few options that there are more than 3 times as many children as there are licensed childcare slots. So this map shows geographically what we look like here in Rockingham. This map only shows the licensed centers and family childcare homes across the county that serve children birth to 3. So this would not include our preschools, NC Pre-K, Head Start, or just school-age programs. So we refer to the childcare crisis as the trilemma, and really we could add a 4th. I don't know what you would call that, but one is challenging for families, early educators, and childcare business owners. So first up, families. The average cost of care in North Carolina for center-based childcare was $9,916. So that's why North Carolina is getting to be more expensive to send a kid to childcare than it is to college. Second up, our early educators. Now that you know what you know about learning during the earliest years, young children need experienced, well-educated teachers with whom they can form close attachments to support their healthy development and learning. Yet North Carolina is facing an unprecedented workforce crisis, with fewer people entering the early childhood field and qualified teachers leaving the field at high rates due to low wages and lack of benefits. Our local community college even reported last year a 50% decline in enrollment in the early childhood program. I'm hoping after that update that we see that number change. And third, the childcare business owners. This is a problem. So I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but the childcare business model is a broken business model. It's assumed by many that it must be profitable because of the cost families are expected to pay. But I'm here to dispel that myth tonight. Labor costs account for the bulk of childcare providers' expenses. And so here we're going to break it down for you. So let's pretend you're the owner of this childcare center. You, the commissioners. On the left, we have your 3-star center with an infant classroom with a full-time associate's degree teacher, a full-time teacher with an early childhood credential, and a part-time teacher's aide, making $15, $12, and $11 respectively. And might I add that might be a little on the high end considering the average wages here in the county for childcare. And no benefits. Your payroll cost for the month for those 3 staff comes to $6,095.27. On the right side, we have your monthly income for your infant classroom. You have 10 infants enrolled, which is the max for 2 teachers, meeting our minimum state ratios for safety, at a tuition rate of $598 per month. That's $5,980 you receive per month. Now, I'm no mathematician, but I can already see that that math does not add up. You're $115.27 in the hole, and keep in mind you did not pay the rent, the utilities, you didn't pay your director, you didn't pay your cook, nor buy supplies for that infant classroom that month. It is not a profitable business, and parents can't afford to make it a profitable business. So I'm now going to turn it over to Ms. Iris Carter. She's the Career Development Services Specialist with RCC, and she's a member of our Kids Ready Coalition.
Thank you, April. And good evening, Commissioners. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. As a Career Development Services Specialist at RCC, I am responsible for helping provide services and resources for students and residents at large to obtain and retain employment, including career exploration, addressing barriers to employment, and developing solutions. And, let's see, all right, make sure I have the right ones. Okay. According to a survey done by the North Carolina Chamber of Commerce Foundation and statistics updated by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in September 2023, North Carolina has a quote-unquote severe worker shortage, which means only 62 workers are available for every 100 jobs that are available. So we're already short on workers. Employers, have sensed that, or they complain about it all the time. But childcare issues affect the workers that we have. 26% have left the workforce due to the lack of affordable childcare. 60% miss work due to childcare issues. 37% refuse job opportunities, promotions, or changes due to potential increase in childcare expenses, and 32% do not pursue job training or education. And I have seen that in coming in my office where people come in and we might be able to help unemployed people find pay for training, books, and supplies. But when it comes to daycare issues, they have trouble finding daycare, affording daycare, or being able to work out a schedule at college to take the classes they need to be able to get the jobs they want. An overwhelming majority of voters believe that the lack of access to child care is a problem and should be a priority in North Carolina this year. They are also concerned about improving quality and affordability and believe that doing so is a good investment of taxpayers' money. The North Carolina child care crisis is estimated to cost the state of North Carolina $3 billion per year in lost wages, lost business activity, and lost tax revenue. A survey was done locally among employers here in Rockingham County, and we had several quotes here from those employers. One is an employer that hires over 700 employees, and they said, "I have had more than one occasion when an employee has spoken to me about quitting work to stay at home with children due to the cost of child care. This has been much harder post-COVID because child care costs have increased." A small employer with only 20 employees says, "I have a few mothers working here and it has caused them to lose hours of work because we are limited in the amount of adjustments we can make operationally to accommodate them when their children are out of school." And then another mid-sized employer with 400 employees says, "We have weekend, day, and night shifts. Employees ask about child care during these hours." So then the employers were asked, "Well, what are you doing? How can we tackle this complicated issue?" And among their responses, employers said that we could assist employees with child care costs, maybe negotiate with child care programs for discounts or offer credit as part of our benefits package. Another said finding the right partners and maybe subsidizing child care. Another said help to support the local child care programs we have established would be a good start. And finally, another comment was to brainstorm ways to help families in need, such as coming together to support a child care center. So employers are willing to participate in solving the issues that are at hand. And on that note, I want to pass it along to Roberta Hawthorne, who you heard from earlier, who is a member of the Kids Ready Coalition and Rockingham County employee.
So you've already heard my personal story, but I would also like to share with you a little bit about what groups are trying to do to help tackle this childcare crisis and try to find solutions. So I've been collaborating with this Kids Ready Coalition, which put together the Early Care and Education Action Plan, which I believe you all have received a copy of. This is the coalition's attempt to be part of the solution locally. So far, some of the action strategies that have been successfully completed include mapping childcare availability in the county, hosting focus groups with early childhood programs, meeting with childcare subsidy staff from DSS, raising awareness of childcare subsidies, and developing a county-wide resource guide for families. And as you may have noticed in the action plan, there's a lot more work on the horizon. Additionally, I want to share with you what some other local governments are doing around North Carolina to invest in early childhood education. First, in Cabarrus County, in March of 2020, just as the pandemic was coming around the bend, the Board of County Commissioners there supported a new partnership between the county government and All Saints Episcopal Church with the shared goal of opening a child care center at the church to be used by county employees and the community. The site would also serve as a practicum site for local community college students to gain real-world experience working with children. This center opened its doors in September of 2021. Also in Forsyth County, in September 2022, the Board of County Commissioners approved a $3.7 million grant to help support 30 pre-K classrooms and educators. Additionally, earlier this year, the Winston-Salem City Council approved to use $350,000 from their ARPA funds to further support these efforts. So this is a look at some of the other solutions that have been found in the state of North Carolina. And now April's going to talk to you a little bit more about some of our asks for you all as our county commissioners.
All right, so here are 5 ways that Rockingham County government can be a part of the solution to the child care crisis. These are included in your packet. It was a one-pager. I won't review them all in detail, but I do want to highlight a few. So I had a recent child care owner who's opened 3 child care businesses here in our county in the last few years. And it was roughly $120,000 in startup costs for his most recent business on the western side of the county. So depending on the type of business, or the type of building rather, that you're looking to use, you've got your general renovations, a lot of child care licensing, inspections and rules and regulations to follow with handicap crib accessible ramps, equipment installation, fencing, playground, and much more. So support with child care startup to these small businesses is often hard to find and limited, so startup grants for them is helpful. We're also planning to launch an early childhood academy that would run 2 cohorts of potential educators per year. They will receive necessary state-required trainings and certifications to accelerate their pathway to employment in the field. Then they'll be connected with our local community college to continue their formal education. We're modeling this academy after 3 other North Carolina counties that have successfully offered the program. The cost to run this academy is about $5,000 a year, and so support from our commissioners is helpful with this. Seeing recurring dollars in the county budget would certainly be a win for all of us. But at a minimum, we ask that you stay informed of the community need. Become engaged with the Kids Ready Coalition and commit to attend one of our upcoming screenings. We are filming a documentary with CTT Productions. So stay tuned for screenings that will be held around the county highlighting this local issue. Stay committed to talking with commissioners in other counties to hear what they're doing to be solution focused. And in your conversations with existing or new businesses, make child care a talking point and connect them to the Partnership for Children so we can talk about solutions. So when we invest in early care and education, we create the best outcomes in education, health, and economic prosperity. We may not all define success exactly the same way, but whether it's economic development opportunities, 3rd grade reading, thriving communities, or the workforce pipeline, early childhood investments are a critical piece. One thing I'm sure of is that we all want children to have the opportunity to grow into happy, successful, contributing adults. Thank you again for your time, and we look forward to working with you on this issue.
Thank you, April, and your colleagues. Partnership for Children plus the Kids Ready program is indeed a step forward from what we used to have, so thank you very much for being here. Commissioners, questions?
I have a couple, Mr. Chair. April, thank you for your time, and you may be the one to answer these, or maybe someone else. On the slide, it said, what Rockingham County employees have to say. Are any of our employees that were answering these, have they implemented any of these suggestions?
So some are looking into exploring on-site childcare, and some were exploring more of the corporate chain childcare programs. And so we've had a pretty frank conversation that said, look, we have existing childcare programs here in the county, and the industry is quite honestly on the brinks of collapse. So why not support the current industry that we have here instead of bringing in some of the corporate chain childcare programs? So those wheels are turning within some of our larger industries. Some are offering, they reported that they're trying to be flexible where they can, depending on the industry. They can offer some flexibilities and sometimes they can't. But there's a lot of mention of figuring out a way to offer some type of childcare subsidy to help parents with the cost of childcare. The Partnership for Children funds childcare subsidy here in the county, a portion of that. There's oftentimes families that fall in that gap. So if you're not meeting those income requirements to qualify, childcare is still really, really expensive and out of reach for a lot of families, for those private pay families.
Okay, one more question. So the slide that said our ask, that's not in my packet here. Was that in the plan that we had previously received?
Yes, the packet that was sent with a lot of early childhood information. It's
Okay.
multi-document. So it's a one-pager that will basically highlight these 5 asks.
Okay, I'm just
It's
checking.
an infographic that's colorful. Yes.
Oh, at the bottom. Okay, got it. And then one more question. So the slide that previously referenced Forsyth and Cabarrus County, during the research, could anybody tell me what the tax rate for those 2 counties are?
I do not have that number right off. I'd be happy to get it for you.
Okay.
But yeah, so obviously around the state, I think every community has some form of our Kids Ready Coalition that's talking about the child care crisis now. It's the buzzword. Folks are deciding like we've got to do something about it. So these are some examples of what it looks like. There's a lot of things in the works of folks that are doing these types of presentations and working with their local governments, businesses. We believe it's the village problem. We've got to figure it out as a village. We're not pointing just to you. We think you are part of that village, but we are also a part of that village. So I think together we can come up with some really innovative solutions to figure this out.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Jim, other questions? I've got a couple.
Okay.
What's been the impact of the loss of federal subsidy dollars for child care that were coming down fairly in large amounts during COVID, but have stopped?
Yes, so the child care stabilization grants, I think you're speaking of. So we have some child care owners in the room who have spoken about this issue widely throughout the county recently. So a lot of those funds were used to obviously sustain them through the pandemic when enrollments were dropping. We lost teachers at a really high rate. A lot of them were used for compensation increases, which was so needed and deserving of these teachers who are oftentimes qualifying for public assistance themselves because they make such low wages. That funding was scheduled to end in December. It's just been extended through the end of June. There's still the question, there's no new funding coming from that, they're just extending that through the end of June. That is a big question that our child care industry is asking, what's going to happen when those funds stop? The increases that they were able to give to their staff, it's the big question, how will we sustain that past June 30th? So they were used for renovations, updating buildings and spaces that children are using, and a large portion of ours here in the county use them for compensation.
Those were all federal dollars,
Yes.
were they not? Mrs. King, you may want to answer this. I'm very curious about how much salary subsidy, basically what sort of salary will change for the better, increase the number of folks entering the child care area.
Casey, or
I
would you like to
bet
speak on
Dr.
that?
Kinlaw's interested in that figure too.
We've had a lot of conversations around this, so I'll let Casey speak to that.
Do you mind repeating your question? Can you repeat your question?
How much do we need to pay folks to get them to go into child care?
Well, we can start with a livable wage.
How much?
Well, if we're competing against Guilford County, and what we're paying teachers in Guilford County, in which we're losing teachers to Guilford County, you're looking at upwards of $17 to about $22 an hour. Another problem that we're facing is we're competing against larger organizations. So for an example, we've actually had teachers that have graduated from RCC with an associate's degree in early childhood, but have chose to go work at Starbucks. Great opportunity for them because they can go to Starbucks and have their bachelor's degree paid for. something that small businesses like those that have their own child care centers or houses or homes cannot afford. So in terms of pay, at least a livable salary like that of 15 or greater, but also it's just not about the pay, it's also about the benefits as well. A lot of our teachers cannot afford health insurance, paid time off, sick leave, maternity leave, things like that. So I think it's important to focus on both pay and benefits when we're having this discussion.
Thank you very much. I don't know, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Dr. Ken Long, but the superintendent has talked to me about a track that would start with early childhood care and move into a bachelor's degree teaching. You're nodding, but are you, I don't want to put you on the spot if you're not willing to talk about that.
No, I'm glad to. I need my academic VP here, but I'll do what I can. We have two programs now that are new. It's called Teacher Preparation. It's Associate in Arts, and then you got the track for Associate in Science that is Teacher Preparation, but that is geared toward teachers in the public school system to try to grow our own. It's not geared toward working in daycare facilities in the county. So that's a couple of tracks that I was talking about earlier out of our early childhood program. Well, we've gone sort of a different route. The teacher preparation for Associate in Arts, teacher preparation for Associate in Science is kind of separate from early childhood now because it's tracked for university transfer. But still, early childhood is our enrollment, as you mentioned earlier, it is down. We'll know more figures soon. We are concerned about that. I think, well, why is it down? Well, I think it gets back to the salaries and what they can earn upon graduation, because there's other options where they get better pay. So I'm sure that has something to do with it. But we'll know better, a little bit better for us as far as numbers pretty soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, sir.
April, I just somewhat want to summarize and confirm one of the things that you mentioned as far as one of the issues facing the industry in Rockingham County. What I heard was the businesses themselves, as far as what their customers can afford, is also playing into what is limiting what they're able to pay their help. And with that, the businesses are still struggling to make ends meet, and that's why you're looking at some of those businesses either not opening in this area or perhaps shuttering their doors in this area. So they're getting pushed from both ends. Is that?
Yes, that's
okay.
exactly it.
And do you have any information of what other Tier 1 counties are doing?
So there's a couple of things in the works. So one is a flex model. I mentioned this. So this is going before the Division of Child Development and Early Education right now, hopefully to be put in the approved rules for child care. I think it would alleviate a lot of the burden of those operating costs of running a small business that's not bringing in much of a profit margin. So the flex model would allow multiple child care businesses with separate licenses to purchase and use a shared space. So they would share utilities, they would share playground space, the cost of maintaining that, but a classroom or a couple of classrooms would be ran by Child Care Center A, classroom B and C are ran by Child Care Center B, so on and so forth. So there hasn't been anything like that in the state of North Carolina. It's something that has a lot of energy and potential behind it right now. If that, can't remember the county right off, Wilkes County? No, Wilson? Do you remember? Okay, not exactly sure on that. But it's going before the commission, so if that is approved, I have a feeling that's something that a lot of communities will be exploring. That's certainly something that there's been conversation here in Rockingham about. I think that will really help to alleviate some of those overhead and operating costs. So those are some of the things. There's also the tri-share care model that was just passed in legislation to do a pilot program. I don't know which 3 counties will be used as pilot program for that, but that is the idea of family paying a third, the state paying a third, and the employer paying a third for the cost of child care. So there's various things being explored right now, and we're trying to keep our finger on the pulse and also, be innovative here and come up with what might be the new thing that is shared across the state.
Okay. And I guess it's also fair to say that part of the issue there with what the customer can pay is what they're able to earn elsewhere. So basically, the wages are pushing a little bit toward the economic issues that families face.
Yes, yeah. In the profession itself, we really struggle with folks seeing the profession as a profession. We haven't gotten a lot of respect and value over the years. I think historically it's seen as, oh, why can't mom stay at home with the babies? And that's just not the reality of our society and workforce anymore. If there are two folks in the home, it requires both of them to be working most of the time. And so we've got to rethink what we think about this profession and what we provide for our economy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? One more.
So you may have just touched on it, but I think the comment was made earlier that it's a broken business model the way that it is now. And obviously, pandemic upended everything, but let's just say prior to the pandemic, people always talk about systemic causes. So what is the systemic cause for this no longer being a business model? Because obviously, this is the way it's been done around here and around the country for a very long time. So why is this no longer viable?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and one that I think we've had frequent conversations around. So we, as early childhood professionals, I feel like have been fighting this good fight for a long, long time. We have been, and Paula remembers the early days of early childhood. She was our founding executive director for the Partnership for Children. We've been saying that early educators are undervalued and underpaid for decades. The access to childcare hasn't always been as heightened as it is now. The crisis, obviously the pandemic we took a huge hit in that. And so I think just sustain that. It used to be that if you were a childcare owner, you had kind of a log of applications where you could pull from to get your teachers to come in. Folks were interested in the profession, they were wanting to come in. Now we literally are competing with every childcare business in the county to try to find qualified staff to fill that. So I think, it goes back to the profession, the low wages, benefits. We've just only seen that get worse as everything else has increased and the cost of everything has increased. We haven't seen the change in the early childhood field progress with that. So
Okay.
it's a much bigger problem than I think a lot of folks realize.
Any more?
Thank you.
One?
Thank you for your time.
No.
Oh, there's more. Okay.
Is there scope legislative to adjust the credentials for early childhood providers to increase the number that are available? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, so North Carolina has always stood out as a champion for early childhood across the nation. We've always had the higher standards. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to drop in quality for the sake of just needing to have bodies in a classroom. We still want to maintain high quality environments for our youngest children because of all of the reasons that we talked about earlier. You can, with one college course, EDU 119, come in to be a lead teacher in the classroom. So the minimum requirements are already pretty minimum. Of course, we are encouraging folks to pursue higher education and to continue along that career path. And some of the academy work that we're talking about are some of the state, basic health and safety trainings that they're required to get through the state, help them get their background checks, their TB tests, how to administer medications, how to prepare for emergencies and disasters. Some of those state required trainings, that's what we would provide in an accelerated format so that they can at least have a portfolio when they go out to interviews saying, here's what I have. And also connecting them with the college. We felt like that was a big piece of it. We don't want them to stop there. We want them to build that relationship with our local community college. We're scheduled to do some tours there, let them get used to the campus to help bridge that gap. So at this point, there is no legislation in dropping any of those. Now, they did allow some leniency during the pandemic where 50% of lead teachers needed to have a certain level of education in order to get your higher stars. They did offer some leniency during that time frame because we were struggling to find the staff. But there's been no mention of that going away completely.
What's the age criteria to be a child care provider?
18, yeah.
I'm just throwing this out for you to consider. Probably the best child care provider I've ever seen is a granddaughter of mine, who quite often was called upon to babysit her siblings. she was able to do this at age 12. My thought is, if you've got one of these licensed, high experienced person, and you were talking about 2 required for each segment of the population. My thought is younger folks could do that, especially if they were under supervision of somebody that met these criteria that you just delineated. Now, granted, a lot of these kids are in school and not available to work, but you also pointed out that there are 0 places for second and third shift folks. It just seems like we could start them younger. I know you haven't thought about that. It just seemed to be an opportunity to
Yeah,
throw that
and
out.
there's some conversations happening, especially with the academy reaching out to our high schools and working with high school students to introduce that career. We're going to be set up at the Job Expo later on this week and
But
have
they have
some.
to be 18,
Yes. Yes.
legislation.
Yes.
May I say something? I'm sorry. Can I just say something?
Why don't you say something, Sarah? Hunter, isn't it?
Yes, thank you. Sorry. I have 4 boys, and if I was paying for childcare, I would want an educated person to watch my children. I'm not trying to be rude, but not a 12-year-old. I would want my child to learn and be able to thrive in that way. Because now when those children go to kindergarten, my son just started kindergarten, and he's already starting to learn how to read at kindergarten. So what had happened if he didn't go to child care? He wouldn't know how to do these things. They've got to know their letters, they've got to point out the letters, their numbers, their sounds, all of this stuff before hitting kindergarten. So we have to invest in childcare with someone that can teach these things. And
Wait a minute.
yes,
Grant,
yes.
I happen to come from a family of 4 boys. I would like to have had a 12-year-old taking care of me as I
Oh,
was
because you
coming
could do
along.
whatever you wanted to. But in that case, when you have a classroom of 16 children, you have to have someone that is capable of watching all of these children and taking care of them and nurturing them.
Wait a
Thank you.
minute. I thought you said 5 children per
That's for infants.
infant.
It changes with every age range, yes. Someone with the capacity and understanding of child care rules and regulations, it's, they have a Bible about this thick of all of the rules and regulations that they have to follow. It's more than just watching children. It's more than babysitting. It's actually really offensive to our early
Yes,
education
that's why I had to stand
professionals
up. I'm sorry.
to hear that type of language.
Yes.
So we work really hard. It goes back to professionalizing our field and seeing it for what it is. We have a lot of educated teachers in these classrooms that are making unlivable wages and leaving to go work at Starbucks. It is
Sure,
real.
I understand it entirely. I'm just trying to robust reports.
Yes.
Because I can tell you, having been a principal, the #1 priority I had was safety.
Right.
I dealt with the safety, and another set of eyes is in there. I really, for one, appreciate the presentation and getting such an in-depth overview. And I can tell you from conversations with our economic development people, they share their concerns. I can tell you the college shares these concerns. I know a little bit about Cabarrus and Forsyth County, and it's not the rate of their property tax that gives them the income to do this. It's the fact that they have that sort of investment. So, but I still think it's worthy of investigation of what's going on elsewhere.
Yeah, we'll continue to explore, and we ask you guys to do the same.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, further questions? Mr. Assistant County Manager, new business?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner comments is item 11. We're going to start with Commissioner Houston Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only thing I wanted to address tonight was that under our consent agenda, one of the items was a policy that we've just recently voted on tonight. And what this is it's going to help with reimbursed fees for foster families once they complete their licensing process and start to accept children from the county. It has to do with helping get reimbursement of fees for fire inspections, fingerprinting, CPR, and this will be something that we would continue to help with if the families continue to be foster families. I know there's a push right now from some entities in the county, some in the faith community to help with, trying to help with the foster problem we have in this county. Obviously, our goal is always to try to help reunite families when parents are going through a hard time. But just a little something we want to do from the county to help with offsetting some of the costs. So thank you to everybody who's interested in fostering, and if you are interested, please reach out to the county. We'll get you more information about that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Kevin Berger.
Thank you. Just a couple of things in the county I want to point out. One, congratulations to retired Chief Clint Simpson, who retired from the Eden Police Department. We certainly appreciate his service to the community. Congratulations to the new chief, Mr. Paul Moore. So look forward to his leadership in Eden. Also want to thank the city of Reidsville for hosting us tonight. Certainly appreciate the hospitality. Another thing I want to touch on, over the last several months, there's a lot of talk about things that we were not able to talk about. And specifically, we had media reports start about 6 months ago, and that's a rough guesstimate, about the potential expansion of gaming in North Carolina. Despite this revelation made by the media, and that's to the public, a narrative of surprise and lack of information was pushed by many, including the media. This ended up leading to a large number of people showing up at our meeting, having events throughout the county, actually throughout the state, generating false narratives, repeatedly showing up, making false claims, and really not understanding the process that was taking place, not understanding economic development. This is only a preview of the circus that was generated by these varying interests. Economic development is something that we have to keep private for a period of time and can only talk about it once it is announced. Remember, we didn't hold any announcement for all bad until they were ready to make an announcement. The county and the city was well aware of what was taking place well before the public. Same thing happened with Ruger when they came to the county. Same thing happened with Purina, although the narrative on Purina got out because people saw a plane land at Shiloh and everybody could talk about it but us. It's very similar to what took place here with regards to the entertainment district. By way of background, the county was made aware of an economic development initiative for increasing rural tourism through development of an entertainment district that also included a casino. The county was briefed several weeks after the initial media reports. The investment would bring a minimum of $500 million to the county, as well as a minimum of 1,750 jobs. The concept discussed was reported to be similar to a facility that was in operation in Anne Arundel, Maryland. In order to investigate the concept and the proposal that the state was presenting to the county, and due to concerns that normally accompany something as far as gaming or gambling, we were encouraged to visit the Maryland facility. This is normal and permissible in the context of economic development and was actually allowed due to it's a private entity, which is Citizens Economic Development. It's an organization that is created to explore, attract, support, and actually develop economic or help with economic development in the county, and has been in operation for 25 years. Site visits for potential new businesses for our community are routine under the Citizens for Economic Development. We visited the Anne Arundel, Maryland area, had the opportunity to see firsthand an example of what was being proposed by the state. And speaking with the locals there, I learned the area had transitioned over the past decade from one that was about 10 years ago just a rundown mall with many vacancies, high crime, many mental health issues, high drug use. After an investment in that area by the Cordish Company of something that was really contemplated at the state level, it transitioned the area to one where crime was cut almost in half. Mental health issues had practically disappeared, and in speaking with the people there, a lot of that had to do with the resources available and the people being employed. The unemployment issues up there were no longer an issue. The mall that, the way they described it reminded me of the last days of Carolina Circle Mall before the Cordish Company came in. And it had transitioned to one where no vacancies, high-end shops, people competing for storefront space. It had also transitioned where the residual businesses surrounding the area were Bass Pro Shop, Cracker Barrel, your Chick-fil-A's, your Starbucks, a lot of things that people have been asking for. We had the opportunity to speak with the head of the local law enforcement, the head of the community college, city manager, as well as the head of the Chamber of Commerce. They all spoke of the positive impact the complex has had on the surrounding area. The impact transitioned the mall to one where, as I mentioned, very low crime. Since opening, people had good paying jobs, low physical impact jobs, things that they could work in, an environment they could work in, and maintain their physical well-being for years. The entertainment venue hosted events for children, hosted school events, hosted concerts, hosted things for civic organizations, oftentimes at no charge. The graduations for the schools, every school in the area used the venue at no charge. We also sought out conversations with people in the community and outside of the Cordish Company in an attempt to gather as much information as possible. The college spoke of the expansion of programs. The college spoke of the donations that the venue continuously gave the community college. Just this past year, the recent announcement was $18 million in donations. Just over the previous 12 months, that was $5 million to the local fire department, $3.5 million donation to the police department. It was a $1.7 million donation to the community college, and a number of other donations to equate to that $18 million. Despite all this positive information from one location and this one example, I certainly felt like additional research was needed to see if other areas had the same results once they opened similar facilities. Research revealed gaming facilities of various sizes have opened throughout the country. These facilities are operated by a variety of companies. Information gathered indicates police departments have minimal call volumes to these facilities. Departments report that there was not a need to increase staffing and that calls to facilities are minimal. What was found were departments were willing to work with new businesses, open to working with others, and the result was a tremendous benefit to the departments from donations, both financially and with equipment, increased pay, and new facilities built or being built as a result of the revenue to the local governments. In addition, officers were able to earn extra money working security in the facility on off days or in retirement. For several years, I've heard our residents ask for places to eat, places to shop, things to do, and for additional lodging. In the last 10 years, the county has conducted multiple studies in an effort and an attempt to bring a hotel facility to the western side of the county. There's also been complaints of the traffic issues on the western side of the county. Conversations with DOT indicate that a major announcement would actually expedite solving those traffic issues. So the legislative initiative is something that showed a lot of real promise and something that looked to be a great benefit to this area. Unfortunately, this legislation would also bring, the legislation which would bring restaurant, shops, concert hall, and at least one large hotel and other developments and jobs to the county did not pass. This was the largest economic development and employment project this county has ever entertained. Well, what happened? We saw the use of gambling profits from existing gaming interests, fund mailers to residents with misleading narratives in an attempt to defeat this legislation. There was also displeasure with the project, not for a philosophical reason, as opposed to any opposition to gambling. But one developer had a representative contact me and alluded that the gaming jobs would increase wages and make it harder to find employees for the opportunities that they wanted the residents to have. We saw local politicians, despite attending conferences at a Cherokee casino and initially telling state representatives their only concern with the project was the availability of funding for their department, pivot once cameras and a crowd gathered. While some may celebrate, Rockingham County remains a Tier 1 county. This is a state designation for counties at the lowest end of the economic activity and development. Our area is yet to recover from the devastating blow of NAFTA. We struggle to keep taxes low, continue to have challenges meeting the funding needs of our schools, the funding to adequately handle the fentanyl and mental health crisis, and to compete with pay of the larger county for our employees, and also struggle to find the resources to fund a variety of programs, one of which you heard tonight. The addition of in excess of $20 million annually to our revenues would have been a big boost to those needs and allowed for the tax-paying citizens to have some relief. At some point in the future, North Carolina will likely pass an expansion of gaming beyond the lottery, sports betting, and the 3 casinos that are currently in operation in the state. This missed opportunity would have allowed all Tier 1 and Tier 2 counties to benefit in the revenue that's generated, with the host county getting the majority of the benefit. Future attempts to spearhead entertainment districts could push the project and revenue to other parts of the state. Time will tell. Well, there's always negatives in some way for any business opening. Our job as elected officials is to research the issues, weigh the positives and negatives, and make the best decision with the information that we have at hand. My goal will always be to provide our residents with opportunities to improve their quality of life. Remember, some were fighting this because it was going to increase wages. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. Mr. Powell.
Yes, sir. So I'd like to piggyback. Well, I tell you what. Before I do that, let me make some thank yous here. This past Saturday, we had the youth outdoor day, and it was a big success. I think we had over 100 kids, 100 adults. The Lieutenant Governor showed up for a visit, as well as did Reese Pirtle. Excuse me. We also had one of the wildlife commissioners show up while we were there, and so I'd like to thank a couple of people for that. I'd like to thank the Youth Outdoor Committee members for the job well done that they did. Lindsay Pegg, our tourism person, is just awesome, and she did a great job, as well as did Rebecca Pigram. She's our public information officer, and she did a great job with that as well. EMS, Reidsville Police Department, was great. The City of Reedsville, Mayor Gorham, thank you for the city's participation, allowing us to use your facility, and to the city manager, Summer Woodward. I have a great relationship with her, and I appreciate everything that she did for this event. Now, I would like to just piggyback a little bit on what Commissioner Berger said, because for 8 weeks we've taken it on the chin and we couldn't say anything. And for me, that's tough to be able not to hit back, because I'm not good at playing defense. I'd rather play on the offensive side. As Commissioner Berger noted duly, that we were notified at our second meeting in May by state officials about what was going on in the state as regards to the gaming or entertainment industry that they were looking at, and we did go to Maryland to look at this concept that they had indicated that they were looking at for the state of North Carolina. In our last meeting, Mr. Isley stood and said that we were hiding behind economic development. We don't hide behind anything. What we do is we do obey the law, and we operate with the highest regard for integrity for the citizens of Rockingham County. But at the end of the day, we still obey the law. And it was frustrating to have went up there to see what this was and seen such a fabulous facility. And I'm not advocating for or against the issue. I'm just telling you what I saw. And to learn the facts behind how that county is dealing with it. And to find nobody that would say anything bad about this industry that had come there. And then to come back home and be told, well, you can't say anything about it. It was frustrating. And, you know, at our Eden meeting, the sheriff stood up and said that he used to be a former investigator, and he hadn't forgotten how to investigate. Now, I'm not sure what those comments meant. To me, it suggested that maybe he thought we were doing something illegal and he was going to investigate us. But I can assure you that I was an investigator at the same time he was, and I know I haven't forgotten how to investigate. And that's exactly what I did. I went to Maryland and I investigated this for the citizens of Rockingham County. I do not gamble. I do not go to casinos. I have no desire to go to casinos to start with. I do like a good steak, so I would eat at a restaurant, or I might go hear Brooks and Dunn if they were to come around. I kind of like country music, you know, so I would do that, or a water park, or whatever else may come with the facility. But having said that, it's my responsibility as a commissioner to learn all I can about, especially this new endeavor the state was going to take, and bring it back to the citizens of Rockingham County to be able to tell them exactly what this was, and then it's up to you to make up your mind whether you agree with this or not. As Commissioner Berger duly pointed out, there was a considerable amount of outside influence. You got mailers telling you that we were going to vote on the casino. The Commissioner Board does not make the laws governing the state of North Carolina. We never have, and we never will. What we do is local ordinances. We had to do a land rezoning. We did that according to the law. Each of you in this room are entitled to the due process that you get when you request the commissioners to do something that we have control over, such as our UDO or land use plan or those things. So, you know, in closing this out, just to say, keep in mind that as a commissioner, it's not about power or authority or money. It's certainly not about that. I've been in a hole ever since I've been on this board. But what it is about is integrity. And it's about doing what's right for 92,000 people, not just a small group that come from Guilford County or surrounding counties to protest, but it's about the group, you know, it's about the total population. 300 or 400 people at our meetings, less than 1% of the population in this county. And we got calls from a ton of people that said, hey, we're good with this. We support you, but those people don't come out and stand up and say that. It's the ones that are against that tend to come out. And that doesn't even bother anybody on this board. You're entitled to your opinion. What is concerning, though, is when outside influences start to try to take over the politics in our county and control that, and that's not a good thing. So we've done nothing wrong. We'd be glad to talk to you now about any of this that you want to. Thank God we can actually talk about it now that this is over. And to reemphasize what Commissioner Berger said, the taxpayers in this county paid nothing for our trip. That was paid by the Citizens for Economic Development. I know this because I'm the vice chair of that group too. That's paid by businessmen who pay to be a part of that. So having said that, we hope that moving forward, things will be a lot more fluid and positive in the county, because there are a lot of positive things going on in this county. And the new budget in the state, there's almost $100 million coming to this county from the state budget, which is just an unbelievable amount of money to spend in the county on programs and things that need our attention. So having said that, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mayor Don Gorman. Appreciate you being here tonight. Appreciate the city of Reedsville. Appreciate Angela Gunn being here tonight, city clerk. Saw Tommy Underwood, city councilman from Eden. Thank you for being here. Paula Rakestraw from our school board. Thank you, Dr. Gunn and Dr. Kinlaw. We appreciate you guys being here. But I won't be long, but I do want to touch base on this false narratives that Commissioner Berger brought up. You know, there have been some political candidates that have made claims of crime increase around a potential entertainment district. The folks we've spoke to say that's a myth. And just to highlight that, they didn't have to, but they did. We've got several organizations here in this state that are comprised of professionals who have spent many hours learning how to investigate, learning how to spot crime, learning how to deal with it, and then having to prosecute crime. These are our judges, our state judges across the state, our DA's conference, our Sheriff's Association, as well as our North Carolina Police Chiefs Association. Believe it or not, every one of these organizations hold meetings at Cherokee. Our Police Chiefs Association has met in Cherokee for 15 years, including our own sheriff has attended most recently November 4th, 2001. So let those actions speak for themselves. So a political candidate, you know, getting up and trying to grab a spotlight, are the actions of these educated professionals who have spent a career in this industry. With that, I'll just say thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. I've got several people to thank and announcements to make, but first off, I think your team's great. I think you brought good information, vital information about a critical area. I know we've talked about it a lot, and we're in our committees and organizations, but the public needs to know, because to get the money part of this solved, it's going to require some reprioritization. Now, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I agree with it does take a village. That's how best to raise a child. But Cabarrus County and Forsyth have the money to do what they did because of major metropolitan districts, which we don't have. So that's for us to deal with. That's not for you. The thing was to get the word out there, and I thought you did a wonderful job in doing that. I see two problems: the money, obviously, and then qualified people. Find the qualified people, then entice them to enter this career field. And I think that can be a challenge. So those two challenges alone will consume a lot of our effort, and we appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I'd like to point out October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and some of us are wearing pink ties. You'll see us in pink again here, and I encourage you to do whatever you can to assist at least the awareness of this malady that causes such a problem, and do your best to make other folks aware of it. I want to congratulate the Rockingham County Health and Human Services. At the North Carolina Public Health Conference last week, our Division of Public Health received a 2023 Ann Wolf mini grant for $8,000, and this grant is going to provide pack and plays and safe sleep education for families in need in our county. They were also nominated last week for the GlaxoSmithKline Foundation's Child Health Award. and for their family care coordination program. And they've also been nominated by the North Carolina Dental Endowment Grant based on their efforts to provide a mobile dental clinic that will be making the rounds to various schools. Thanks again to Town of Reedsville, but Mayor Don, I want to thank you for your cooperative operation here. Whenever we need something and we want to know what's going on and do we need to collaborate, I feel like I can call Don Gorman and get the straight skinny. And you're professional, you're courteous, you're generous, but I consider you a really good friend to the entire county, certainly to me. So thank you very much. Mr. Assistant County Manager, Counselor, do you have any further business for us to conduct?
No, sir.
That said, my favorite input to this meeting is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion made, second. Discussion, here none, all in favor indicate by the sign of aye.
Aye.
And thank you all for being here.